Hi and welcome to Fun Swedish. If you're living in Sweden or have been to IKEA, then you must have eaten some Swedish meatballs. Today we'll share with you some fun facts about them. Number 1. How do you say meatballs in Swedish? The Swedish word for meatballs is köttbullar, and this is a compound word. We have kött, that means meat, and then we have bullar, that means buns. Just like the bullar in kanelbullar or kardemummabullar. So meat buns instead of meatballs. If we wanted to have meatballs, then it would be köttbollar in Swedish, but that just sounds hilarious. So we say instead köttbullar, meat buns. Now that you know what köttbullar means, let's take a look at the pronunciation. At first, when you see this written, then it's very easy to think that it should be pronounced as köttbullar. However, when you see a Swedish K followed by an Ö, then you should normally think that it becomes a sh sound instead. That's why we say kött and not kott. And if you want to know more about this pronunciation rule, then you can check out this video we made about it before. This pronunciation rule is really important because if you say something like köttbullar, it kind of sounds like you're saying kåtbullar, and that means something else in Swedish. Kåt is a Swedish word for horny. Number 2. How did Swedish meatballs become so famous worldwide? The answer is furniture. In case you didn't know, IKEA is a Swedish company, and in Swedish it's really called IKEA. And besides selling furniture, at some point in the 80s, they also started selling Swedish food. And the clear winner and the most popular dish were the meatballs. They might have looked like this in the 80s. Nowadays, IKEA sells more than 1 billion meatballs per year worldwide. Way more than any other kind of product. So I guess that IKEA is also the most successful Swedish restaurant. And if you want to know more how to make an IKEA meatball, then you can check out this instructional manual. Number 3. Are Swedish meatballs really Swedish? Well, technically not. Meatballs are of course not unique for Sweden. There are also Italian meatballs, but the Swedish ones are smaller in size and usually made of 50% fläskkött and 50% nötkött. The Swedish meatballs also tend to use other spices. Which ones exactly is a little bit debatable and is a bit up to every Swede. But you might see a lot more kryddpeppar and muskonöt instead of vitlök and parmesanost. And some might say that the Swedish recipe for meatballs is actually a stolen one from Turkey. The rumor says that our king Karl XIII brought it back after a trip there in the early 18th century. So Swedish meatballs are perhaps not that Swedish after all. But let's pretend they are, otherwise we couldn't make this video about Swedish meatballs. Number 4. How do you eat Swedish meatballs? The answer is with fork and knife. But apart from that, the most traditional Swedish meatball dish served at the restaurants will include potatismos, brunsås, lingon och inlagd gurka. It looks like this. The lingon part might throw some of you off. In case you didn't know, Swedes love to put lingon in almost any kind of red meat. It's a pretty sour tasting berry. Definitely an acquired taste. Have you ever tried köttbullar med lingon? Let us know in the comment section below. But even if this is the most traditional way of eating it, it's perhaps not any longer the most popular one. Especially not among barnfamiljer, families with children. For them they are used as an easy way out, and they would combine the köttbullar with spaghetti, macaroni and ketchup. A quick meal that almost every Swedish kid loves. And kids are even served this at school lunches. Number 5. When do we eat Swedish meatballs? Swedish meatballs are part of everyday home cooking, like we said before, and even in the school menu. But it's also part of the Swedish holidays meal starter pack. Swedish meatballs are particularly popular during Christmas. But with some Swedish families, you can also find them for midsummer and Easter. And like all Swedish bullar, köttbullar also have their special day. Köttbullens dag is the 23rd of August. But most Swedes don't even know about this day, because they don't really need an excuse to eat meatballs. Number 6. Where can you find Swedish meatballs? Apart from IKEA, you can also find them at most Swedish restaurants that serve traditional Swedish dishes, also called husmanskost. If you come to Stockholm, where I'm from, then there's one restaurant that specializes on Swedish meatballs. I think it's called Meatballs for the People. Honestly, I have never been there myself, but I've heard that a lot of tourists go there if they want to eat Swedish meatballs. Most Swedes, on the other hand, would make them from scratch at home or buy them pre-made in the supermarket. And the pre-made ones normally looks like this. If you want to know more about Swedish culture, pronunciation, grammar and vocabulary in a fun way, then you can check out our video courses and learn Swedish at your own pace with us. Check them out. The link is up here and in the description below. Now go and enjoy your Swedish meatballs. Smaklig måltid!